And, well, as you can see, it's going to be Nomad, and that is a home map of LoS. And let's see how this is going to develop. So let's just put off the fog of war, as obviously on Nomad, everybody is absolutely everywhere, all around the map, and this seems like a pretty sweet spot for Red, and I'm kind of thinking he will really stick this the ripple of the bars here, and if he potentially can get to this gold and see where it is, that might be quite useful for him. So far he doesn't see it, but if he goes slightly to the left and discovers it, I definitely think this is going to be a pretty sweet spot for him to drop a town center. No. You don't have any kind of ramp. I'm just gonna have to tell them. Just for a very bad map skew. There are no res in RTS League and never have been. So not exactly sure where you would get that kind of idea. And we are continuing right here, and it seems like that exactly Chihaya is really taking care of exactly this spot that we were talking about, and this is a really nice one, as obviously he doesn't know about the gold, but once he learns about it, he's going to be quite happy about the placement here. For some other players, we see a bit of a yellow here, that's Hats together with Sunin at pretty much the same spot with Ayase Chihaya trying to lure, or rather lure, move the second Willy next to his home base so that he is having all three at the same spot, which is kind of understandable situation, obviously. Yellow at this point seems to be kind of heading into some kind of situation like here, which is a pretty decent town center placement, obviously, because of the very bountiful hunt here, and also pretty decent mines. One stone, well, that's actually a pretty great placement overall. You see the gold here, a lot of stone, extra gold right next to the water, and at the bottom double gold and stone, and quite literally a ton of hunt. Well, this is pretty sweet placement for Huts, and this is really going to be quite important position for the whole kLu team to defend potentially right there. Dock has already been placed for him, and it's kind of empty-ish. If you have a look on the minimap, you can see a bit of an empty space in there, but otherwise not really all that bad. And since he's not going to be facing any kind of opposition, at least so far, this seems pretty decent position for a Dock and the early economic boost. Looking somewhere else, do we see something here? Just a lot of mines and of course the sheep. But let's have a look at the other TC. That's going to be 4Winds, for example, and he's having a pretty sweet position, kinda alone it seems. Not really any kind of opponent nearby, and really that's a lot of mines for him overall, and a really ton of stone. And right now he's looking for potentially to build a house, and I was maybe thinking even for a dog, as he's a Viking, so I would be thinking he will be going for the water pretty soon as well. Pretty sweet corner with a lot of fish in there, so he will be pretty happy about that. And overall, pretty decent placement, but not really all that sure about the food here. He does have some sheep, but not really anything discovered. So he does have just those two on the left, and he does at least know about this double deer on the left, and potentially with a mill about here. That could still be quite valuable because he does have some shorefish and potentially could make some kind of use of that. On the left, we see, oh well, quite interesting placement of both Miguelzin and Vince. So they are going to be right next to each other, and this is probably going to develop in very early galley rush in the early feudal age. Stone and extra hunt here, but otherwise, do we see something interesting? A house from green. And where is he actually based? Oh, he's here next to the grey. And it seems like that all three LoS are actually at pretty much the same spot, which is a pretty understandable and very clever strategy from them, and definitely something that they were preparing and hoping for. So they are right now guarding the left part of the island, or rather the mainland, and it seems to be pretty decent overall right now, trying to make sure that this stone is kinda, well, it's pretty much not about the stone as about the boar, I would say, and also the access to the dog here potentially. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be making the life of Miguelzin all that much more difficult. Oh, we see a dock at the bottom, built by Ayase Chihaya, and yeah, that's not really ideal. You can see a lot of emptiness, a lot of vast emptiness here. Not really any kind of fish, just a few at the very shore here. So potentially for the start, it's not going to be all that terrible, but in the later game, he will have to definitely develop another dock about here, and hope that he really does go for that, because if he doesn't, that's going to be a bit difficult start for him overall. The yellow placement is really sweet, and where are his teammates? We have seen that purple is on the top side which is pretty far away from him and potentially not easy to actually help him. But blue Sunin will be in a pretty good position to help his blue, or rather yellow ally, because I'm really expecting the early aggression from LoS to actually come here pretty soon, as they are all three at pretty much this one spot. And I'm really thinking this is going to develop into something pretty nasty, and I wouldn't really put it behind them as some kind of sling in the early feudal age, because obviously their defense is going to be pretty strong. Houses for blue here. Luring the boar in. Have enough food here, but he does already have that through the berries, so that's not really a bad placement overall. And he does have extra berries in here as well. And looking how many shorefish actually are here in the middle lay here, I kind of think this is going to be quite valuable for potentially dogs in here as well, and also the potential for control of mainly blue and maybe even the middle of the map here, like two gold mine or other stone mines that are going to be quite important as well, with the gold also. So yep, I'm kinda expecting some mines or other docks on the waters in the middle as well. So far nobody really advancing, so let's have a look around and let's also see the civilizations which we haven't covered yet. So Ayasichiha is Viking, Miguelzin is Persian, and Gach is Playan Mayans, and Vin's Vikings, Huts, Persians, and Sanin Mayans. So we have a proper mirror, and it will definitely be up to the teams to decide who is going to be better. This is definitely one encounter to actually keep a very close eye on. With purple, so far facing just two dogs here, but I'm kinda thinking that Miguelson is going for the water pretty much full on. I really expect that, especially looking at the fishing boats at his disposal. That's right now quite a decent number, with 8 of them, basically the most out of them all, and I'm really thinking he will be putting purple out of the position here pretty soon. Whereas his home base is somewhere here. He has already lured the boar in, as you can see, and otherwise, yeah, it's still kind of difficult for him with the food, and he will be in a pretty tough position once the green player advances into the feudal age right now. Well, he's winning by quite a lot. Yeah, by 80 points above his teammate and by 100 above the best from kLu. So that's quite a lot of difference and definitely a good placement for him. And overall, pretty good play from Miguelzin as the best player of this game. Yeah, at least rating-wise. Okay, some kind of pause here with a bit of wall in action on the right between red and yellow. Make sure that they are controlling each other. And so far it seems like that, yeah, I was going to say that yellow is controlling more, but looking at the wall on the left, it seems like that red is actually having a slightly better placement here and will be controlling the map a bit more and potentially will be getting through the wall easier than the yellow player. You can see that he's already finishing on the left as well with the palisade wall. And is he going to finish up to the water or to the left here? It seems like that he's dropping a house, so that's probably going to result in... I would be very glad if he actually made a wall here, because he would be protecting both the double boar and also the double golds here, which are going to be quite important for him, especially when he's underwater here and will be facing Ayase pretty soon. He doesn't know about the dock yet though, so that's kind of in the future for him right there. But I would be fully expecting him to actually anticipate a bit and expect that red will be going on the water pretty soon as well. Bit of a scouting through the houses with a lot of colors here, grey, yellow and red. And where are you actually going, this yellow villager? Oh yeah, here we go with the valley fighting, obviously. And since this villager was going a bit more adventurously than would have been prudent for her, kinda thinking that she's going to lose quite a lot of hit points here, and you can also see a lot of extra villagers coming in to help. Well, but they are so far not doing anything from Asichihara, which is slightly curious, right now stopping right there. And possibly he's hoping to actually build some extra walls. This seems like a pretty complete natural wall. Yes, it is. It's pretty much complete and won't really be any kind of way through this choke point of the wood and the stone there. Looking at the villages, we have just a bit of problem for Vince, who is just at 17, whereas Chihaya with Miguelzin are already at 22 or 21, which is a pretty decent amount overall, with Huts beaten 20, and it really seems like that the start is very much in LoS power so far. Ayase Chihaya is the first to advance into the feudal age. He going for some kind of second dock? Oh, well, it doesn't seem so far. but this villager might be aiming for exactly that. Yellow so far as, yeah, finishing the wall, but he's not really gathering, rather trying to protect this gold, possibly hoping that he can go right next to the water. Rather right to the water. And first is advancing Miguelzin from this duo of Purple and him. So definitely going to be a huge advantage for him and a huge problem for Purple, who still, I think, doesn't have any kind of reasonable food right now, finishing with everything. And he will be moving somewhere else, also with the dog in the defensive placement right at the top, and he will be hoping that he can somehow survive the early onslaught. He's probably just going to abandon this kind of dog once Miguel advances, but is that going to be enough? Looking at the advances, all three LoS guys are advancing as the first, whereas two kLus are not advancing yet. And Ayasichi has right now signaling where yellow is with his dogs and what is going to be his work in the early feudal age here. Yep, he's advanced, and do we see something interesting from him? Just, you can see quite a lot of stone mining for the Mayan player Goh. Well, that's kinda understandable. If he's possibly going to jump into castle pretty soon, which might be also a good idea, as he's a pocket, but looking how close they are, it's like everybody is a pocket in this game for LoS team. Wins and Huts advancing into feudal as well, so it's like half a minute advantage for Miguelzin, but that should still be enough in the early feudal age there. A bit of a house building from the red player, and he's going to be possibly walled in by Sunin. So he's just making sure that he knows about his opponents, where they are, and potentially scouting them a bit more, which is a pretty reasonable idea. And if he can somehow disrupt help routes and play some significant walls like about here, and basically cut off a purple altogether, that could be pretty valuable for him. So let's see if that's going to happen. Very interesting development from green, who is going for a gold, which is largely unsafe for him. Okay, that's basically because he doesn't see any extra gold, but there's literally a ton of it around the red, so potentially could have told him. But yeah, he didn't. He didn't, and right now is he going for a lot of boats? Let's switch into Wigelsin. Right now we see a lot of fishing boats from him. And jumping into Castle Age, okay. So Galley is right now being built, and yep, this is going to be quite nice boom from him. So already we are seeing 17 fishing boats. That's quite a huge number together with the 26 villagers here. And the best from kLu right now is Vince with 22 villagers and 10 fishing boats, and that's quite far behind, even though here's a big Viking here, and we'll be definitely hoping to do something with the water battle. kLu Huts is also advancing into Castle Age. Also, right now the purple player having a bit more galleys than his opponent right now, but he's going to be quite nastily surprised by the faster castle age, I think, and there's definitely going to be something he won't be all that happy about. So the water battle is right now going on quite strongly, with Ayasichi basically owning Huts at this point, because Huts is doing something like Miguelzin, the faster advance into the castle age, and we will be potentially seeing some spam of galleys and war galleys in the castle age if he opts to go for it. But so far just having one dock and doesn't seem to be really developing into the water battle, and potentially he will be just giving up on that altogether and hoping for some kind of fun on the land. So far on the land we not really see anything substantial, just the wall being finished by Ayasichi and trying to protect himself against potential raiding or whatnot, but that is not happening so far, and this is really kinda interesting game overall. Bit of idols from the green player, who is right now the first to advance into the castle, and will be followed by Huts and Gak pretty soon. Bit of development with barracks or rather blacksmith, and is Red going somewhere funny with the villager? Yeah, he actually is. So he will be maybe dropping some potential, I don't know, he's Viking. So he could be dropping literally whatever here, potentially archery range or whatever. He's going for some aggression, but is he going for anything like that? So far he is still in feudal as a Viking. Let's have a quick check if somebody's maybe slinging. No, nobody is slinging. And where is this saga of this villager going to end? So far he's gaining just a pretty good line of sight overall on their opponents. Let's have a look on the water here with finally some castle age unit and its fireship from the green player together with those double galleys, and he will be owning the waters quite substantially because obviously Vince is still in feudal age and he's not even advancing yet. So this should be kinda easier job for green to actually win the water, and look at how red has already won the water against his yellow opponent. Well, has he won it? Has he won it? Because yellow has built a second dock. Let's switch into huts if he's building some kind of boats. Oh yeah, he's going for fire ships as well. Okay, so he's not giving up on the water, and we will be seeing some kind of aggression on the water from him pretty soon as well. On the land though, not much happening, just the barracks being dropped and is nothing going on from their opponents. Well, a castle being built by Gach, who is already in Castle Age, so that's going to be Plumed Archer raiding pretty soon. And do we see some extra TC so far? Ah yeah, we see also second TC right next to the stone, which is quite nice positioning overall, and second TC also for the green player, so that's a pretty decent boom overall. And looking at the opponents, with Sunin just now advancing into Castle Age, I would be fully expecting him to drop a castle and also another TC. Obviously he is the Mayan, and having a pretty decent amount of stones, so that's just going to be for another TC, I would guess. And is it going to be somewhere here? I would think so, because he needs some kind of defense over these gold villages, because if he was raided here, potentially even through the walls, it's kind of hard to get through the palisades here, it could be pretty deadly for him overall. He's also having docks under attack from the red player, and red seems to be kind of owning the waters, even though he is kind of put out of position with the fire ships here, which should be making his life a bit more difficult. But looking how he's advancing into the castle age as well, this shouldn't really last for all that long, and Ayasichihaya should be getting his hands on the water fully in just a moment. A bit of raiding from yellow, you can see, who has already got some knights into the opponent's base, and is that going to be somehow successful? I wouldn't really think so, because obviously you can see that the Persian Miguelzin is already bumping out some kind of camels, and also having help by his teammate Gach, who is having some kind of number of plumed archers, but it should be more than enough against those, yeah, almost dead knights. It's just a question of time before they are dead. And in the meantime then, let's look somewhere else. Okay, so that pro player is right now developing here with barracks and market, so he is, yeah, potentially trying to prepare for what is to happen here, because Miguelzin is quite nicely preparing here with both the monastery and the siege workshop, and also having some stables somewhere inside his base. He's having a TC here, so that's 3 TCs for him, I think, in one stable, and that's pretty much it. But it seems like that his economy is going pretty strong with the mangonel here as well, getting rid of those pesky pikemen here. And looking at this economy, he is having 46, which is by far the most of them all, and also 16 fishing boats, so yep. Well, that's a pretty strong play from him overall, and it's going to be quite hard for kLu to defend against that if he is not going to receive any kind of help. So far he's still going to preparing to actually defend by himself, not really receiving anything. But it has to be said that Sanin is already having a castle and is building quite a lot of plumed archers and potentially can help his ally quite soon. At the bottom, we don't really see anything developing. Yeah, not much going on from either grey or the red player on the yellow one. But on the water, you really see the dominance of the LoS overall. So Ayasi Chihaya is running on the right side, winning on the right side with his Borgalays quite convincingly, and it seems like that yellow is kind of, yeah, giving up on what is happening here, and giving up on the water overall, and it doesn't seem like that blue would be interested in it either. Yeah, that's a pretty decent fleet from the red player, and on the top we can see that the purple player is not really having any kind of fishing boats or even some kind of military boats either, as green has taken care of him quite convincingly and quite easily, even without war galleys here. So it seems like that everything is going to happen on the land here, with Los Miguelzin breaking through the defenses, or yeah, you didn't really have to break through anything, as there was obviously a way through, but he is facing some kind of rather pretty decent opposition, so those pikemen are going to be just enough to defend against just those scout cavalry. It seemed like, I'm not exactly sure if this was some kind of raiding from blue or help to his purple ally, but at any rate it didn't really go all that well. You can see this one plume is also going to die probably. Yep, that was a pretty good hit, and Grey is also making an appearance here, and they will be potentially raiding the blue player pretty soon. So they are already through though, so they can potentially raid even those villages on the stone here and on the wood line from yellow. So that's potentially a next stop for those plumed archers who have right now destroyed the wall there, and they will be basically free to go anywhere they please. As is probably going to be true for Miguelzin, as he's right now having Mangonel, and he's slowly but surely working on getting through to the base of purple in some kind of more commanding manner, or rather manner than was the battle earlier here. 3TC is here. Okay, so that's a pretty decent defensive spot, and if he can potentially gather extra resources wins for a castle, that might just be enough to actually defend against Miguelzin. But looking how Miguelzin is having an incredibly beastly echo with 76 villages, 16 fishing boats, that's 16 more than his best ally, and actually 20 more than the best opponent. That's a pretty huge difference, and LoS are definitely aiming for a pretty strong later game, just as they are right now. This is basically just cleaning up on the water by the red player on the blue side and also on the yellow side, with yellow trying to develop quite a lot of town centers. You can see that he's having actually 4. That's a pretty decent number overall, but is he actually catching up? He's at least having the 62 number, which is pretty decent, but looking at Vince at just 34 and Sunny at 42, it's going to be quite hard to actually defend any kind of attack here, especially when Vince, the weakest player from kLu so far with the villager department, is facing the strongest from LoS, Miguelzin. So that's going to be a pretty hard attack to defend for kLu Vince. And he will definitely need some kind of help. And is the help coming from the blue player? So far I don't really see it anywhere. Not anything at the back. Not anything at the back. Yeah, this will just depend on the pretty good shot on those mangonels. This almost, or rather on the veteran rams with the mangonel here. And even though Vince is doing all that he can with those palisades very nicely positioned here, I'm not exactly sure that's going to be enough, because obviously green is right now reinforcing the position with yet more siege here, and he's having a pretty decent amount of knights overall, and I don't really see any kind of help from his teammates. So far, what is his teammate doing is he's attempting actually a raiding on the green base, which would have been a pretty good idea if he wasn't helped by his green teammate Gach, and it seems like that the grey army is actually a bit more numerous than the blue. Well, it's more or less equal, I would say. But this is basically just a run for some kind of good position or some kind of hill, and I don't really see anything just here, and that wasn't where the blue player has been going. So pretty good shots on those stone willies, with a bit of not paying attention from Gach, who has just allowed this to happen. But is it really going to pay, or rather make any kind of difference? Well, we'll see pretty soon, with Pantisi being killed by wins, or rather 4 wins, and second is basically very close to actually being taken down as well, with the siege here from green still being largely intact, especially talking about this one Mangonel, and the army overall is just growing, so you can see that probably is not having any kind of defense, and switching into him. Yeah, he's pretty stretched on the economy. He's having just wood and gold, and that's not exactly ideal, because he obviously, for that, you can build a lot of siege or a lot of archers, but that's not exactly a unit that would help him against all those knights here. And we can see that GGs are right now being killed, and it seems like that LoS are heading for lead in this match, 1-0 against kLu. So yeah, that's just a confirmation. It did not happen here. Not much really happening here from yellow, for which we would need to actually wait. And even though this seems like a pretty decent boom from yellow, it didn't really pay its dividends, because obviously he did have pretty strong echo, but it doesn't seem like it was really any good for anything in there. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward game from right the start, I think, with LoS developing the base right next to each other, and that was a pretty correct decision, as it allowed them to basically boom and develop without any kind of opposition from their opponents, and the fast advance and basically pretty beastly boom from Miguelzin was exactly what decided the game, I think, because yeah, his spam on his proper teammate or other opponent wasn't anything that kLu could withstand overall. Yep, GG, and let's have a look at the achievements. With Miguelzin quite undoubtedly the best player in the game, having Most units killed, biggest army, most building size obviously, and also, yeah, the biggest economy. And he has also been slunk by ISG Haya. Okay, so that's yet another pretty huge bonus, and Gak was also slightly slunk, whereas Klus weren't slinging at all. So yeah, that's definitely something that also helps you in the game overall. 18-minute castle age. Not bad on Nomad. And 116 villages, of course. That's a pretty big difference above his even allies and also opponents. Alright then, GG.